Pacific stretched endlessly beneath the cold night sky, silent except for the hum of diesel engines. On the deck of the cargo freighter Erebus Wind, the watchman stood alone with his flashlight, scanning the rolling black horizon. It was supposed to be another uneventful shift, but something felt wrong, like the ocean itself was holding its breath. The vessel moved through invisible swells, its lights cutting deep into the mist like yellow blades. The watchman, named David Mercer, had worked these routes for 20 years without incident. Yet tonight, the stars above seemed misplaced, flickering in faint red pulses rather than white, as if the sky were coded differently. He raised his binoculars and focused on a distant shimmer sitting idle on the water, about 500 meters out. At first, he thought it was another vessel, but no radar ping confirmed it. The shimmer pulsed softly, changing colors in rhythmic waves that rolled across the sea surface. Reporting it to the bridge, David received only static through the radio. Every channel he tried produced the same distorted hum, like words caught in reverse playback. He tapped the device, but even the emergency line failed, as though their frequencies had been pulled into the void. The shimmer began to rise, parting the sea as black water rolled away in precise circular motion. What emerged resembled a massive metallic dome covered in wet scales, glistening under his flashlight. It was not a submarine, nor anything recorded by human engineering. Frozen with disbelief, David watched as faint geometric shapes formed across the object's surface, glowing like an ancient language etched in light. Each pulse synchronized with the ship's power system until the deck lights flickered wildly. Then everything went dark except that horrifying glow over the waves. From the bridge, the first officer's scream cut through the silence, abruptly ending in static. David dashed toward the stairs, his boots echoing on iron steps drenched in seawater. Every corridor was empty, the instruments on the navigation console displaying symbols that no one had ever programmed. He reached for the emergency generator switch, but the lever resisted, vibrating as though magnetized. When it finally snapped free, the backup lights revealed wet footprints, leading from the deck to the captain's quarters, disappearing into thin air midway. The ship seemed haunted by something that didn't follow human physics. Low-frequency hum reverberated from beneath the hull, shaking bolts and windows. The sound felt alive, like a mechanical heartbeat syncing with his own pulse. He stumbled outside, desperate for air, and saw the sea twisting counterclockwise in an impossible spiral around that floating anomaly. David shouted into the night for any sign of the crew, but only the wind answered with distant whispers. He strained his ears, the whispers formed faint words, his own name, spoken in multiple overlapping voices. Fear replaced reason as he realized those voices were perfectly synchronized with his heartbeat. The metallic dome rose higher, revealing a still, smooth underbelly reflecting the stars that no longer matched the constellations. A sudden crimson beam shot upward, burning a perfect circular hole through the clouds. For a split second, he saw another ocean above, inverted, mirroring their own below. David rubbed his eyes, certain exhaustion was causing hallucinations. But when he looked again, the inverted ocean was still there, bodies of other freighters visible upside down, moving backwards in slow motion. It was as though they had crossed into another layer of reality, stitched imperfectly to this one. The radio crackled again, a child's laughter filtering through the static. Then, a faint voice whispered coordinates, 47 degrees north, 122 west, their current location. It ended with a final phrase, time collapsed. Stay outside the sequence. Every compass needle on the control panel spun violently before freezing on due north. A deep flash of light enveloped the ship, replacing the hull's shadow with translucent fragments like broken glass. Through them, David could see copies of himself performing identical motions with slight delays. He blinked, but the fragments scattered, leaving him alone on the trembling deck. The dome began to sink, its lights fading into the abyss, taking the spiral whirlpool with it. When silence returned, the ocean was pristine, as if nothing had ever ruptured its surface. Morning came with gray light slicing through scattered clouds. The ship drifted quietly, power restored as if on schedule. Crew members emerged from cabins confused, claiming they had heard nothing, seen nothing, and thought the night had passed undisturbed. David confronted the captain, shaking as he described the vanishing object and impossible reflections. The captain listened in silence, then replied that no records existed of any incident or communication break. Black box recordings were intact, showing peaceful readings throughout the night. He checked his wristwatch, only to realize its second hand wasn't moving. It was frozen exactly at 3:17 a.m., the moment the dome had vanished. When he tapped the glass, the entire mechanism shattered, the pieces rearranging themselves into the same geometric shapes he'd seen on the object. Later that day, while reviewing sound logs, he noticed a 10-minute gap filled with echoes resembling ocean waves reversed in playback. When he slowed it down, a distorted voice repeated his name alongside a digital timestamp, 3:17 a.m., engraved deeper with every playback loop. Haunted by what he witnessed, David asked to be transferred. But even on the mainland, streetlights flickered whenever he walked beneath them. In reflections of puddles, he occasionally saw that same dome glowing faintly, as if watching him through the fabric between worlds. Weeks later, maritime satellite imagery revealed a circular disturbance recorded precisely at those coordinates. Yet naval archives denied any atmospheric anomalies. The data vanished within hours of being uploaded, replaced by an error message stating, "Temporal inconsistency detected." David's nights grew sleepless, haunted by half-remembered noises, metallic breathing, distant footsteps echoing within mirrored corridors. His reality began to distort, street signs reversed letters, and clocks ticked slower when he observed them. Even his own reflection occasionally looked the other way first. Desperate, he contacted an old friend in the Coast Guard, sharing coordinates and details. 2 weeks later, that friend disappeared during an unsanctioned dive near the same site. Only his diving log remained, its final entry reading, "Found surface above surface, light under glass." The shipping company quietly retired the Erebus Wind, claiming mechanical obsolescence. Yet dockworkers reported seeing its deck lights occasionally turning on by themselves at night, though the ship remained unplugged, permanently dry-docked under government quarantine protocols. Journalists attempting to investigate the case met with redacted documents. Internal communications between maritime agencies referenced a non-terrestrial reflection event. But no physical evidence was ever released, and the case faded beneath heavier headlines. Years later, a fisherman miles from that region captured drone footage of light patterns crawling across the ocean in perfect circles. The formations matched the symbol burned into David's shattered watch face. Experts dismissed it as data corruption from saltwater interference. David, now a recluse, painted the dome obsessively, each canvas varying slightly, as though documenting a moving pattern. He confessed that sometimes new lines appeared overnight, painted by no visible hand. His collection filled the room with a pulsing radiance when moonlight entered. Neighbors recalled seeing strange light under his door one night before he disappeared. Inside his cabin, investigators found the words, "Sequence broken," carved repeatedly into the floorboards. His final unfinished painting depicted the ship floating upside down, connected by threads of light to another world. Months after his disappearance, coastal sensors near his last known location recorded identical frequency pulses to those lost in the original encounter. Oceanographers called it an anomaly, theorists called it evidence of dimensional bleed, where timelines overlap for mere seconds before snapping back. The dome was never officially acknowledged, but sailors still avoid that corridor of the Pacific, calling it the Mirror Lane. They say radar fails there, compasses drift, and sometimes ghost signals echo crew lists from ships that no longer exist. A glitch echoing through time itself. When the black box data from the Erebus Wind finally leaked decades later, audiologists detected embedded ultrasonic tones forming numbers structured like binary codes. When decoded, it spelled a single word in English, return. Nobody could identify who inserted it or what it referred to. Scientists attempting to replicate those frequencies noted that water in a sealed lab container began to oscillate unnaturally. Some claim the reflection in the water briefly showed a massive structure beneath it, identical to what David described. The footage, strangely, failed to record. If you sail across those coordinates today, the sonar sometimes returns impossible readings, shapes both above and below the surface simultaneously. Experts insist it's interference, but seasoned navigators speak differently. They call it the ocean's warning, an endless loop waiting to repeat itself. The seas still whisper on windless nights, carrying faint echoes of metal groans beneath calm waves. Whether David crossed into another timeline or simply fell victim to exhaustion remains unknown. But some mysteries, like the ocean's deepest shadows, are not meant to be solved. And so the story of the Watchman fades with every passing tide, until someone else hears the same hum under the deck, or glimpses a flickering dome beneath the surface. When that day comes, reality may fracture again, reminding us how fragile the boundaries of existence truly are.